You have to be careful about making a weird show or watching a weird show.
Hello, this is Greg Smalley on Pod 366, a Weird Movies podcast. Joined today by Giles Edwards.
Hello.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
If you're tuning in for Pod 366 After Dark, you're going to have to wait a while we run through the non-sexy items on our list with Giles, and then then usher all the little kids and sensitive folks out of the window, out of the room for Pod 366 After Dark. You probably want to watch that after midnight too, just to make sure that nobody's up. Giles had a little cat there, and we've missed it. It's run away, but.
Yeah. So if you see me diving away, it's because I'm trying to stop a problem, but I'll keep my fingers crossed.
All right. Well, Giles is going to go through all the kid-friendly movies this week, like Cannibal the Musical, and then later we will be joined by Terri McSorley for Pod 366 After Dark. But let's get started with what we have right now for there we go. That's the lineup for the kid-friendly version, and we shall start with this one in theaters that Giles will describe the poster for you.
All right. This is dominated by the faces of two people looking at each other with perhaps longing, although the fellow on the right-hand side, an Asian gentleman with a stubble mustache and close-cropped hair, perhaps has some apprehension, but then again, so does the young woman looking up at him. And superimposed over the lower part of the face of the young woman is a little sunset ocean scene with a little buoy, which has a voice credit to it.
Oh, yeah.
So this could be excuse me. I just noticed also superimposed over the ear of the gentleman is a satellite, which also has a voice credit. So
Yes.
not necessarily the standard romantic drama that the primary image might suggest.
It's not a boy meets girl, but more boy meets satellite
Oh,
love story. Yes, and it's called Love Me, and it stars, as you can see on the poster, Kristen Stewart and Stephen Yeun as a boy and a satellite, respectively, who meet after sometime many years after humanity's gone extinct, and carry on a conversation and attempt to determine what it means to be human and fall in love. Normally, this was at Sundance last year, and we didn't notice it at all. But now that it's out in theaters, I've noticed several reviewers called it strange. Tasha Robinson of Polygon called it a daringly weird debut. And so for that reason, it's on our radar. And it is in pretty wide release. So I think I will most likely have cause to see it next week. I'm planning on it at least. And reporting back, of course.
thanks.
Did you see the trailer, Giles?
No, I actually didn't see any link for this at all, but I've been sort of distracted today, so apologies for that. But yeah, sounds like a fun take on a reliable trope
It's
and a
go on.
two-person cast. So
Yeah, because they're the only survivors. But it's from the video. It's or from the trailer, you'll see if you watch it that it's a sort of a smorgasbord of sort of live action and animation and some sort of virtual reality type simulations, as I suppose these two artificial intelligences attempt to piece together what human life would be like. So that is Love Me. It's getting sort of medium reviews and probably only a little bit strange, but it is an early one on our radar this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Next up, can you describe this still, perhaps? I don't know if I could, but
All right. In the middle distance, there is a cathedral or a church with a prominent tower to it. Looks like we are in a graveyard. And dominating the right-hand side is a gravestone with a husked remnant of a, I don't know, looks like a dead plant of some sort in front of it. The grave is encrusted with, I don't know, almost looks like asphalt, but definitely a gritty thing going on. And bending a little over the um, gravestone is a figure, heavy set perhaps, baggy pants and a little jacket thing, and covering the entire head of this person, I presume, is a burlap-looking bag that seems all sort of expanded out. So it's either a very large head or some sort of something else filling that up. All told, yeah, saturated, a bit washed out photograph here. So really couldn't guess what the context might be.
yeah, and it's from a collection of short films, mostly animated, called Death Laughs Among Us, the complete works of John Schnall, who is an animator I am not at all familiar with, but he does have some good credits. Worked for MTV, Comedy Central, and Saturday Night Live. Did some work for them. This one focuses, I'm guessing, on his earlier, easier to license underground work.
Yeah.
And if you watch the trailer, you'll see it's all done in a wide, vast range of different styles. I guess as he was, working out what he wanted to do. It all seems to have sort of a dark comedy tinge to it, death being a frequent enough character in these stories or theme in these stories that it gave the name to the collection. And it's from, of course, VHS Hit Fest.
Yes,
Don't say
yes,
that wrong.
VHS Hit
VHS Hit
Fest.
Fest.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Via Vinegar Syndrome, their partner in distribution. So, Giles, did you see the trailer on this one?
Yes, I did, and yeah, very much matches the description. A real smorgasbord of yeah, lots of not crude, a simple animation, and but very interesting things happening with the visuals on those. So nicely pushing the boundaries of that medium as opposed to just settling for anything remotely realistic. And I always like to see that in my animation. It has piqued my interest, and yeah, it's set up like a one of those late night. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's been so long since I've seen any of them. Promotional videos that you may watch at 2 in the morning and be wowed by a particular product that's only blank 99, but wait, there's more kind of thing. So
Yeah, yeah.
this,
Infomercial.
yeah, yeah, it definitely seems this artist here definitely appeared to be worthy of a nice collection at long last. So
Yeah, I
glad.
think these have probably never been seen really
Hmm.
by a wide audience. I imagine that they showed at festivals and then disappeared. I haven't looked for them on YouTube, but some of them might be available in full on there. I really don't know, and don't know, what how interesting or quality they are, but from the trailer, they certainly pique our interest. And that is a new release and only available on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So you have no other way to see that other than purchasing the Blu-ray. But let's move on to something that maybe more people have seen or will see if they haven't yet. Giles, the still?
All right. This is a grainy black and white still. We see the back of, I'm gonna guess, a fearless frontiers person caught in the wilderness man, traces of a beard, very, very, very large raccoon skin cap, and one of those animal hide jackets with little frilly bits that I think this is the third time I failed to remember. Fringe. There we go. Uh, who we can infer is observing a strangely upright and somewhat anthropomorphic animal with prominent buck teeth, above which, to go with the quizzical tilt of the head, is a large question mark as the beast observes the wild man, wilderness frontiersman in the midst of a number of, I'm going to guess, fir trees or the like. Anyhow, oh, yes, and of course, in the lower left-hand corner, we'll see a small pile of excrement over which are hovering some stylized flies.
Yeah. That's a good catch. I had missed that. Yeah, so it is a still from,
It is a still from Hundreds of Beavers, featuring in this still just one of them.
which is now out for everyone to purchase on Blu-ray. Previously had been available in some very limited editions with a special slipcover and one with a wooden slipcover.
Yes, I sprang for that myself, and I'm very much looking forward to adding that to my collection. The only other case I have that has a wooden cover was a special edition of The Wicker Man, which was released sometime in the late 90s, which ostensibly claims to be the most true cut of the film. So I'll now have two wood-covered
Wow.
video discs.
So you ordered it but haven't gotten it yet?
Yeah, well, I ordered the version that I believe is available very widely now before that sold out and before its second printing sold out. And I'm a little too much of a sucker for special editions, so that when it was advertised, they were expanding production of the wood cover variant. I thought, well, this is a good crew to throw money at. So,
Oh, okay. So they it was originally limited and they agreed to print more of them.
yeah, it was very limited, and then it became slightly less limited. So.
So am I correct? You'll have two copies of it now?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to giving one away to an unsuspecting recipient.
Oh, okay. Um, so uh on you have one copy in hand already?
Yeah, it's down.
What have you gone through it yet? What do you
No, I haven't even opened it because it's the slightly more standard version. And if I'm giving, I saw the movie three times on the big screen, and so this will be a pristine edition, whoever gets it. But I do know that it is full.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
full. L. Rob Hubbard, I'm sure, could have some thorough remarks on that. As a general rule, I very much enjoy the existence of special features, but I almost never watch them.
Oh. Well, you ought to watch these.
Yeah.
You should have watched them already so you could report on them, but
I apologize.
haven't.
I've been busy this past week.
Since you haven't, we'll just go through what some of them are. You can play the movie with a VFX breakdown, which I'm not really sure. I guess somebody comes in and talks about it every now and then. Something called a trapline chapter menu, which I'm guessing is a chapter menu. Three separate audio commentaries: the sober commentary, the drunk commentary, and the trashed commentary, if the drunk commentary wasn't incoherent enough, I guess. Trailer. No, go
Imagine
on.
it took inspiration from another item we'll be discussing later that I did years ago watch while listening to that drunk commentary, which was a good deal of fun with a bunch of enjoyable rowdies getting hammered while talking about this little movie that launched the careers of several of them.
Drunk
Uh,
commentaries have become a little bit of a subgenre that a lot of people are putting them out. Anyway, he also has trailer, deleted scenes, the John Kayak music video isolated, a unseen high school short by Mike Cheslick called Blink, sound design breakdowns, commercials and promos, Great Lakes Roadshow recap, 100 photos for 100 Beavers, and three separate interviews, none of which were done by 366 Weird Movies, surprisingly. But
yeah.
I guess they couldn't pay our licensing fee for
Yeah,
them.
we have somewhat priced ourselves out of the standard market, so yeah.
But yeah, it's hundreds of Beavers, very popular title, and I'm assuming most people who follow this channel have seen it by now or will be planning to. Giles, did you know that it's an Apocrypha entry?
Oh, okay. Did that happen this past week?
It happened on Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've been busy. Yeah, oh, as I said, I'm not at all surprised, and I'm very pleased.
Okay. Shane Wilson did the
Oh,
write-up
wonderful,
for
wonderful.
that. So up next is one that Giles has also seen, and I have not, and it's going to be available only on VOD. Giles, will you describe the poster here?
With pleasure. This is a poster for a nice, very colorful and Japanese animated film. It's a night scene. We can see a hazy, dark purple sky in the background, some festive lights, little monsters in a parking lot, and fleeing these little monsters slammed in the foreground, coming right at us as the viewer of this poster is a sort of person-sized cat thing on a little scooter. He's got a crazed but very happy look on his face, and kind of clinging on to him is a young girl about 8 or 9, looking over her shoulder with. I guess she's expressing the concern for the pair of them because this cat does not seem at all troubled by the menace behind him, but she has, shall we, how to phrase this politely for the cat, a greater sense of peril.
Yeah, I noticed that the cat has two different sized pupils, which is somewhat disconcerting, and that's
Yeah, that only
crazy.
happened. There are occasional moments where this cat suffers for one reason or another disorientation, and that is signified by the the pupil effect you see there. Normally, they're both standard 5'11" cat pupils.
And the title is,
Ghost Cat Anzu.
and as I say, only available on VOD right now, but it is coming out in March, early March, I believe, on Blu-ray. So we'll probably mention it one more time. We've mentioned it before. Giles does recommend it, I'm pretty sure, especially for uh, the kind of young kids who won't be watching Pod 366 after dark.
Yeah, and looking at the one user review or customer review on the Amazon link for here, they gave it 2 stars out of 5, but titled their review "Confusing and Strange Anime Film That I Just Didn't Get," and then go on for 3 or 4 paragraphs using a lot of words that I say, yeah, that's what makes this movie so amazing.
Wow, that's a very encouraging review. I like that one. Okay, any final words about Ghost Cat Anzu before we move on?
No, I will stand by my various positive words that I have littered onto 366 since this past July. So, highly recommended for anyone who's a fan of Studio Ghibli and, well, I'll say Kevin Smith style slacker comedies.
Okay, on to another one which Giles has reviewed before and we've mentioned before. Do you want to describe this Blu-ray cover.
This cover is broken into about four fairly equal slices, and I'll go from top to bottom here. This is all black and white, like the film. There is the eye shot of a young woman looking off to the side with apprehension. Then, just below that in tiny text, is the name of the director. And below that, taking up another quarter or so, is an eye snapshot of a young man, also looking off to the same side with slightly more angry apprehension. We can see on this that this fellow, very young fellow, has some dyed hair, as the hair does not match the eyebrow color. That's something that happens within the movie. Below that is the title in a sort of bright yellow and a font normally associated, I'd say, with holy books of days of yore. And below that is, we can see in the background some scraggly, dead for the season winter trees. And in the foreground is a kind of tactically geared up individual with the same hair as the young fellow. I can tell you that they're the same person. And he's wearing a sort of folky kind of fox mask while holding a crossbow pointed off in the same direction as all the apprehensive eyes are looking. So,
Okay, very good. So this is Hippo, a indie movie that debuted last year at Fantasia or the year
uh,
before,
two
2 years
two
ago.
Fantasias ago,
Yeah.
so a year and a half ago, yeah.
Just came off a very limited theatrical run, which we mentioned, and now is on Blu-ray and presumably also available for VOD. Let me check. No, I don't see that it is on VOD yet. Should soon be, I would imagine, if it's not. Um, so all I know can gather about it is it's a like a black comedy about a dysfunctional family. That's just the kind of genre. What else can you tell us about it?
Yeah, this is a very a movie with very limited appeal in its way. I considered it very, very good. The crowd at Fantasia was very much into it, but yes, it's a black and white family kind of melodrama, but absolutely saturated with very dark humor and a sort of deadpan narrator individual coming onto the scene. I guess maybe to try to explain the tone, there's a scene where this skeezy semi-sexual predator guy comes over for a meal in order to hook up with the, I think, underage girl in the movie, and you almost feel sorry for what he goes through.
Hmm.
So yeah, very taboo digging and very explicit in its way. So this is going to be the kind of movie that I suspect will alienate very many, but those who watch it and enjoy it will enjoy it tremendously.
Yeah, it probably sounds a little too dark for Pod 366 After Dark. But which is why we have it featured in our regular for
Right,
kids section.
right. Yeah.
Another good movie for kids for Ghost Cat Anzu and Hippo maybe as a double
Yeah, yeah.
feature.
Hippo is actually the name of the stuffed animal owned by the boy man who, so I think he's 18 in it, and the stuffed animal's name is also the kid's name. So I guess there's some immaturity. Yeah, it's somewhat tough to describe, but it
Okay.
hits a spot.
All right. It hits a spot. Well, okay, here's another one. You can describe that image if you like, Giles, while I search for what the name of the movie is.
I will do my best. It looks like we're in a semi-subterranean room with maybe very broken steps, pathway going up to where a shaft of light is coming from the right-hand side. On the left-hand side is a kind of standard-looking guy gazing up at the center figure, which has glowing red eyes, some glowing red coming from the ever so slightly open mouth. And this entity seems, I guess, skinless, but makes up for that by being prodigiously muscular. Has one of those trapezoidal things that suggests a lot of neck workout. We can directly see the biceps on this. It's a combination of a matte maroon, maybe a matte brown maroon with lashings of blackish or off blackish musculature. And this figure is looming above the much more standardly human looking figure off to the left-hand side.
All right. And this is a sort of a horror movie, and it is called The Keep. Do you know anything about Michael Mann's The Keep there, Giles?
I don't. I think the only Michael Mann movie I know I've seen was he behind Manhunter?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Uh,
Um, this is sort of a notorious 1983 flop film that was sort of, I think it was taken away from the director and recut by the studio very, very badly. In fact, Shane Wilson wrote the review. He reports that the studio hacked off 90 minutes
hmm.
of it, and then after a bad preview, another 30. So it was a 3.5 hour long film when it was released. And then it was cut down to about an hour and a half, which apparently left it as fairly incoherent.
Hmm. I can believe that.
Yes, it's about Shane described the plot as a Nazi regiment unwisely establishes a base inside the keep of a Romanian castle where an otherworldly beast has been imprisoned for the safety of humanity. So, kind of a um, standard supernatural scenario there, but it turns out to be kind of strange in execution, partly on purpose and partly because of studio interference. It had never been available, I don't think, in a true authorized version in the United States. There were some import DVDs available, but now it is out on an Ultra HD set. So they've Ultra HD'd this one.
Hmm.
It is from, who is the, it is from Vinegar Syndrome.
Huh?
And so they've obviously done a good job and put together a lot of extra features. And this, I'm assuming, is the longest cut that they can get. Yeah, it's a, they don't actually say here that I can see that this is the full 3.5 hour cut.
Yeah, on the
Not sure.
Amazon description it says an
Yeah,
hour and 36 minutes, so I'm
yeah, it
kind of
looks,
wondering if
yeah.
hopefully it won't be the last we'll hear about this if there is a fuller, I guess, another couple hours lurking around.
Yeah, it is a new restoration, but it is not, does not have the missing footage. It has a 6 minute interview called What He Left Unfinished about some of the things that didn't make it into the final movie. But this is the incoherent cut, apparently, which is a cult classic in some areas.
Yeah.
I have not seen it. I'm just sort of aware of it as a legendary movie. Moving on, here's another still for you to, challenging still for you to describe there, Giles.
This is a dingy living room interior. We can see a papered over, window panes for the one window are papered over with an ugly brown. There are some red curtains in the background. There's all kinds of debris. I think I can see some pieces of a hi-fi system resting on some sort of surface there. And lurking in the corners is various odds and ends. There's a keyboard. There might be a little aquarium or something. It's hard to say. All it's told there's some squalor going on. And the main part of the image, seated all next to each other on. I'm wondering if that's orange Naugahyde or something. Some sort of real crummy vintage couch thing, and in the center is I think it's a woman with her hair done up, pulled back, wearing black t-shirt and some blue socks, feet up on the table, flanked by beer bottles. I think there's a bong also on that table and some further beer bottles catching my eye just now. And on either side of her are sort of human-sized and roughly human-shaped piebald furry things, very obviously comfortable and looking very much at home in this odd little scene here, with no faces to speak of, except the one on the left has a narrow, flattened oval thing in the center of, I don't know. It's sort of like there's a pinkish triangle that fades into blue, and then it's the fur, and then on the right, there's a more cartoony looking mouth thing with a little row of teeth surrounded by pinkish lips, which itself is situated in a rectangular shape with I guess, a pleasant-ish, well, not unpleasant, lime green color dominating the space between the mouth and the surrounding furriness of the entity in question.
The surrounding furriness. Okay, and it is still from
Is this from Kuso?
Kuso, or Kuso. Not sure how it's pronounced. There's no real pronunciation guide given. Do you know anything about Kuso offhand, Giles?
No, and the trailer, although suggestive of what kind of movie it was, didn't really clarify anything. Oh, there's an earthquake, and various things are tied together around that, I believe I read.
Sort of a apocalyptic style earthquake in Los Angeles, and I guess it's a series of sort of surreal vignettes based around that thing. It is from director Flying Lotus, who is a very talented musician, and believe he's the nephew of Alice Coltrane. But I highly recommend his album You're Dead, which is kind of a very trippy, jazzy, electronic phantasmagoria, sort of probably based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead, like so many things are. But it's a tremendously entertaining and creative album. In 2017, he decided to try his hand at filmmaking and put this out, which debuted at Sundance and got a sort of mixed reviews. Critics didn't seem to like it very much because it was too weird and just uncontrolled, just a bunch of weird scenes stitched together. However, it did get a fan base of people who appreciated it. And then it did not get a actual physical media release at the time, other than through an import, at least not that I can find. And I remember noting the movie, but we didn't cover it because we couldn't, never tracked down a copy. It was on Shudder, I think, briefly, but now it's out for the first time on an authorized DVD or Blu-ray, with a new interview with Flying Lotus, audio commentary from film critic Samuel Abrams, an unreleased Flying Lotus short film, some behind the scenes footage, extended scenes, and stuff like that. If you look on the Amazon page, you will see there's a number of fans and detractors both. The fans say things like unique, artistic, and gross, manages to engross almost entirely on images alone, And some of the negative reviews say weird, gross, and trippy experience, which sounds like a positive review, but there you go.
Yes. Yeah, half of the reviews are 5 stars, and a quarter of the reviews are 1 and 2 stars. So,
Yeah, pretty much. Um, and then one of the 5-star reviews says, great for the whole family, which is why we're featuring it here on this segment of the show and not on Pod 366 After Dark.
that's right. Recommended by the friendly neighborhood guy in the cardigan.
Right. So that's Flying Lotus's Kuso, a film we should have covered way back in 2017, but may finally get around to covering almost 10 years later. And here's our final one, a film that has been released before. Giles, you want to describe quickly in our last 3 minutes this still?
Yes, I can. I know that this is a screen capture right in the middle of a musical number because I think I even might know the song. This quite obviously takes place some many years ago, and probably a far out west kind of thing. Bearded gentleman lined up mid-song. I can see traces of winter. 5 faces in a row. The middle of the faces would go on to middle and last of the faces would go on to big international mega fame, whereas the other three, well, a little bit less so. But these are some enthusiastic young gentlemen who are singing happily about the prospects that they are looking forward to. So you can't really tell that from the image, but I know exactly where this is positioned in the motion picture in question.
And the motion picture in question is,
Cannibal, the musical.
which has been released many times before on DVD. I think this might be its first Blu-ray release.
Yeah, looking at the bonus feature Spiel, brand new 4K restoration. So, for those who want to see Trey Parker and Matt Stone's student final film project in glorious high def, at long last, your wish has been answered.
Oh, is that true? It's from De Gosser Video. I didn't know it was a student film because I think it came out after
Yeah.
South Park, but they must have dug it up for release.
It was semi-buried because until South Park, those weren't, yeah, Trey Parker and Matt Stone weren't names that anyone knew.
Okay. Well, you've seen it, Giles, in our last few minutes, or do you recommend this student film?
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's it's got the slight roughness around the edges, but definitely indicative of the humor style that would be pursued by the two creators. Uh, Good musical numbers, which was a portent of the many musical numbers that are found throughout South Park, especially South Park the motion picture. That's got a lot of toe tapping, fun time, Broadway-esque whistle to yourself kinds of things. So it's very silly, but doesn't pretend to be otherwise.
Okay, and good for kids, which is why we're
Oh
featuring
yeah,
it now.
it's a musical.
Perfect movie for kids with along with the rest of these, which seriously, Ghost Cat Anzu is good for kids. But all right, thank you, Giles, for covering these movies, and we will be back in just a moment for Pod 366 After Dark with Terri McSorley to discuss some more adult features. So bye, Giles, until next week. And you guys just hang on. Shepherd the kids out the window, as I said. All right. See you in a minute.
Cheers.
Hello, this is Greg Smalley on Pod 366 After Dark, joined by Terri McSorley for this episode of Pod 366 After Dark. And hi, Terri, Goregirl, as it says.
Hello.
But we will not be discussing gore films today. We will be discussing sex films. And I
Yep.
did not have to
For-
change, but I got my brandy snifter full of Diet Coke for this adults only episode. I think your kids can watch it, but they probably won't be interested. So we had like five sexy movies come up this week, just by coincidence. Three of them Russ Meyer movies released in conjunction, and two of them from Mondo Macabro that just happened to be released in the same week. And so we have brought Terri, who has seen all of these films. I'm pretty sure, right? All of them?
Oh gosh,
Yes.
I've seen them all. I have. I actually do have the Vixen, Supervixens, and Beneath the Valley, the Ultravixens on Blu-ray. Picked up those new Severin releases, so I had them before on a really fancy burned disc. This is
Oh,
how we do it. I literally, a friend had the box set and burned this for me like 15 years ago. And yeah, so it's going to be really nice to find. This is the next one coming out up. So very exciting.
oh, okay. Yeah, well, out of these, I've seen four out of five. I've never seen Super Vixens, but they were all a long time ago. The most recent ones were like 15 years ago that I saw. So it's been a while for me. So you're going to have to uh, take us kind of through these in more detail, since my memory will probably let me down. But let's start off with the Russ Meyers, which I think are probably the more, well, I shouldn't say they're the more weird ones. I don't know if they are or not, but they certainly are probably the more well-known ones, since Morgana Le Fay is kind of a rare movie and Cafe Flesh is a actual
Adult
porno
movie.
movie. So, um, but we'll go through the three Russ Meyers in chronological order, starting with Vixen, which I did see a long time ago on VHS, and do not remember a whole lot about the plot, except that I believe at the end there's a long lecture on communism that comes kind of out of nowhere. And I remember Erica Gavin being maybe one of the better actresses ever to be in a Russ Meyer movie. I thought she did a really good job. So, what can you tell us about the movie, and then we'll talk about the release specifically?
Well, honestly, Greg, Vixen is the only one I have actually not watched out of my new
Oh my
purchases.
gosh.
So it's been a long time for me. This is the only one I can't really speak
Hmm.
uh extensively on, to be honest.
Okay.
But I too remember it definitely it she lives in the wilderness. I think it's actually even set in Canada, if I'm not mistaken. But you know what, honestly, I'm gonna have to sort of skip the plot on this one because I just don't remember enough about the film. I've watched the other two, and Cafe Flesh and Girl Slaves of Morgan. love Faye, but this is the only one I can't really speak on.
Oh, okay. Well, um, okay. I have what I think is a piece of trivia about this movie. I believe, if I'm not incorrect, this is the first movie that, Russ Meyer movie that Roger Ebert watched and reviewed very positively, and it led to, if I'm not incorrect, it led to those two meeting and Ebert ending up writing screenplays for several of his future movies, including Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. And that's my only real tidbit about Vixen. I also remember it not being as weird as the others. So maybe it's not necessarily a problem that we don't have as much information on this. And we can just go straight to the next movie in chronological order, which is the one I haven't seen, Supervixens. So what can you tell us about first the movie?
Yeah, probably my favorite actually of all of the Russ Myers films. I should just mention too that us fans of Russ Meyer's never ever thought we'd see this day where this film was going to find a Blu-ray outlet. Like it just, Russ Meyer's died many years ago, and the only way you could get his films was actually ordering it from him. He sold them out of his house. And they've just been in limbo for years and years and years. So the announcement that these were coming out, those who love him were just so stoked. And I'm so happy to have this movie because it is wacky. So all the characters in the movie have the word super in front of their name, hence the title Supervixens. And essentially broken down, this guy is married to this very needy and a little violent woman who calls him up in the middle of the day while he's at work and wants him to come home and have sex with her. And she eventually just makes him lose his mind, and he ends up leaving her. And he goes on this journey. She actually ends up dead, this woman that he was with, and killed by a character that comes back in the movie as well. But he goes on this, he's basically on the lam, and he goes across America, and is many women attempt to seduce him along the way. And it's the same actress that plays his wife in the original is actually the last woman he meets in the film. And without giving away the whole entire plot, it's just really funny and wacky and original. And the woman who plays Super Angel is just fantastic. I love her. The woman who's on the cover here, actually, I always wondered why they chose her to be on the cover, because she's in it for a briefer time than anyone else in the film. But she's really cute. And just to show you, people who are interested in picking this up,
Hold on.
100%.
I'll take off the share so maybe we can get a slightly bigger picture.
Okay.
What were you going to show us? No.
So the disc,
Yeah.
and I have the Blu-ray. Now it is bare bones, nothing in it, no slip, nothing. But I had to tell you that the difference in picture versus what you had from the set, if you had the old Russ Meyer's set, is incredible. It is really mind-boggling. I did do some picture sets for my social media, and they have nudity on them, so I can't show them here. But just, you wouldn't believe it. It's just freaking beautiful. Like, you never realize, back when we had VHS, we just accepted that, and it was beautiful. We were so happy to have movies that we could now watch at home. And, as social, as the physical media is just getting better and better, having this in this form is just, I'm just so happy to have this. I mean, really, I can't even, the sharpness, the quality of the picture. So they did put, I don't know, I guess it's widescreen. Like there are some, they did crop it, which I assume they did probably because it improved the picture. I mean, that's usually why they do these things. They don't usually just randomly crop something, but you don't lose. Like I checked several frames against each other, and you're not losing any picture. It's fans, you got it for real. So that's Supervixens.
Okay. Did you get into any, are there special features, and did you get into any of them?
You know what? I have not watched the special features yet. But yep, there are. I'm just going to tell you exactly what it says on here. So I've actually watched this 4 times already. I got it for Christmas, but I've shown it to 4 different people. Kind of a 50-50 feel on from these people. And these are people that have never seen a Russ Meyer's film in their life. Okay. In fairness, Russ Meyer's isn't going to be for everyone. I mean, there's tons, there's loads of nudity. There's lots of sex. There is every single woman has huge breasts. Like huge, we're talking bigger than double D. But there is a real thick sense of humor in here. These films are comedies, sex comedies, but they are comedies. And it's again, like I say, it's not going to be for everyone, but Severin did a heck of a job.
That was one thing I was going to ask you about, is where it kind of ranks on the explicitness or range, because the earliest ones either had no nudity, like my favorite Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, or they were just little the nudity of kind of the nudist camp films. And then by the time you got to our last movie, they were pretty explicit. So where does this one fall on the explicitness?
It's pretty explicit. I mean, it's not as explicit as the next one we're going to talk about, the next Russ Meyer's, but it definitely is. There is full nudity. I still feel like this one is definitely less so than, like I say, Beneath the Belt. But it's the older films, like you say, and even when I do recall about Vixen, the for sure, I know that movie is not as good as these other two. 100% for sure, I know it's not. And there are other older ones. I can't really. I'm just trying to think of Motorcycle. That's by the way, that's along with Up. Motorcycle and Up are the next two Russ Meyer's that Severin is going to release. And I don't recall any actual nudity in Motorcycle either.
Yeah, no, so, he went for a period.
Want to watch
with no nudity. Okay, but let's go straight to the next one, which is a movie I did see many, many, many years ago on VHS. Don't have a very clear memory of it, but I do recall it being very explicit, definitely adults only, definitely an adults only feature, and very wacky, again, as you say, Supervixens is. But why don't you tell us more about Beneath the Valley of the Ultravixens?
All right. Well, this one is all about small time USA. That's literally the way they sell it. It's a look at small town USA. And the very first scene, the opening scene, has a woman. She is actually a radio evangelist. And she is playing Pong. And we see a man playing a piano, and he whips off his clothes, jumps into a coffin, naked, and
it's all coming back
on puts on a stripper record, and our evangelist does a little stripper dance, and then gets right down to business, jumping on. She is completely naked, jumping on her man in the coffin. So this is how it opens, and it doesn't get any less kooky or sex rompy than that. It just goes like that right through to the end. There's a housewife has sex with a salesman. Then we see another small town USA couple, Kit and Natividad, who is in a few Russ Meyer's films. Her and her husband have sex. She doesn't like the way he wants to have sex. So she ends up kicking him out, and goes and has sex with a trucker. And basically, it's just all these little spice of life interludes. Kid Navidad later goes on to have sex with the same salesman who's selling lingerie, of course, because it's a Russ Meyer's movie. And it is really one of the funniest scenes. The verbiage in this is hysterical. I literally, I had tears in my eyes. I hadn't seen Ultravixens for a few years, and man, it's funny. It doesn't exactly have. It's not heavy on plot. Let's say that. It's just all these little kind of small stories of your average American, your average really horny American, and it just all kind of culminates to each one finding their own happiness. Basically, it's definitely high camp sex comedy, full on. There is literally like zooming in on bush. There is full nudity. There is sex. This is 366 Weird Movies After Dark, definitely. It's not for kids. It's not to watch with your mom. When I showed this to a friend, she told me to turn it off. She wouldn't finish it. She's like, no, I'm not watching this. I'm like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I remember this one it bumped right up against hardcore porn. Like it's about as far as you could go without getting that triple X rating. That's how I recall.
Well, it is a lot of fun. So you know what? If you're not shy and you're not bothered by nudity and you have a sense of humor, maybe on the dark side, you'll enjoy it. I feel like people that are Russ Meyer's fans really love these 70s films, actually. I mean, all the people I know online, pals, I mean, I'm social media crazed. I'm all over the place. And I have many conversations with many people about Russ Meyers. I post a lot of pictures from his films. And now I'm going to have really beautiful pictures, beautifully quality pictures to post. And people love these 70s ones. They really are crazy. They are for sure. But they're well loved by Russ Meyer's fans. They really are. And I think that's probably why Severed released these three as the first trio.
Yeah, personally, I hope to see Faster Pussycat, and I don't know what they'll put it with, like Lorna and Mudhoney or something, but it's in a class sort of by itself. I do have some sort of trivia to repeat on this. This comes from Alfred Aker's review, and Alfred would often say things about the production of movies, but not give you a source for them. So I haven't double checked, but his claims are, number one, Roger Ebert wrote this movie under a pseudonym, which should be kind of easy to find out, but I haven't fact checked it. And the second one was that Russ Meyer said that Kit Natividad was his favorite actress because she had a lot of sex with him on set when the cameras weren't on, and she was the most sex-crazed woman he'd ever had in a movie. So.
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all, actually.
He did go on to do hardcore porn after this, I think. So maybe before this, but so yeah, that's that. What about the DVD or it is a Blu-ray and not just a 4K UHD, because it says here it's just 4K UHD. Oh, it's Ultra HD Blu-ray is what it says. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, again, just amazing. Just absolutely gorgeous. You know what? I haven't done screen comparison. I mean, I did. I've done some just at home, but I haven't posted them yet. I was sort of waiting to do that till after this. I was going to kind of do it as an accompaniment.
Okay.
But yeah, just amazing. Like it's basically I didn't realize how kind of terrible these really looked until I saw how beautiful they look now. They really are like blurry and pixelated. Like you take a still, and if you pinch it out even slightly, it's just a blur. Like it's just amazing the job Severin did.
Yeah, they say that they said on their Amazon page that the print was in really bad shape. It was weather damaged, and they had to spend a long time restoring it before they could get it to something presentable even. And know that it's not just presentable, but if you're correct, excellent is nice to know. And
Yeah.
so, okay.
Now, I will say though, it is definitely not as clean as Supervixens, but looking at the side-by-side comparisons, it's like miles apart, quality speak. So they did to fix it, and I don't know, maybe there's certain, as there usually is in film, you know, there's just pieces that are particularly rough or damaged or, you know, weathered as it were. But I don't know, it looked pretty spectacular to me. But again, Supervixens though, side by side, definitely was almost perfect. And Ultravixens is just, I mean, still pretty incredible. Maybe not quite as clean.
Right. And these are all three separate releases. They are not bundled, or is there a bundle available? Do you know?
There was a bundle.
There was a bundle. I thought so.
Yeah, there was a bundle. You got a t-shirt. There was a couple extra goodies in there. You know, I basically asked Santa for these and buy them for myself, but I was going to. If Santa didn't bring them to me, I was going to buy these for sure. And you know, Santa was good to me this year. He brought me lots of media, including these three. So yeah, the you know, my loved ones were not going to get me the bundle, which has been sold out for a while.
Yeah.
In fact, well, I remember looking, being a little nosy, thinking, "Oh, I wonder if they got me the bundle." And then I looked and I saw that the bundle was sold out, and I'm like, "Okay, well, maybe they got it before." So no bundle. But honestly, it isn't really necessary anyway. I'm just happy to have these three films on Blue.
Maybe after this, they'll put them all together in one big box set too. That might be a affordable way to get them. So that does it for Russ Meyer for this week at least. Any of these you think are among the weirdest films of all time?
Well, I mean, I think if you ask most people, they probably tell you that Beneath the Valley of the Ultravixens is pretty weird. And I think most people would probably say Supervixens is pretty weird too, to be honest. I mean, I kind of feel like of the two, Supervixens has a more straightforward story. Which I'm not saying every film that's weird has to have a story that doesn't make sense or nonsensical story by any means. But I feel like Beneath the Valley of Ultravixens could definitely qualify for your top weird list because a lot of weirdness there.
I'll have to view it again. I look forward to that assignment. But let's move on to the Mondo Macabro releases, starting with Girl Slave. This says, oh my goodness, there's a mistake here. The title is Girl Slaves of Morgana Le Fay, which it says on the cover, but if you look on the spine of this image, it says Girl Slave, singular, of Morgana Le Fay. That's a odd mistake to make, but it doesn't damage the...
Yeah. Well,
I just noticed. I just noticed as I was looking at it, so.
Well,
go on.
I was going to say, so I don't have the Blu-ray for this. So I can't give you any kind of nice comparisons, but I have the film more than a few times. Strangely, I've seen it more than a few times because I'm not in love with this film, but I do find it rather mesmerizing. Someone, I unfortunately I can't remember who it was, but someone commented on a picture set I made for this film and said it was what did they say? Roland's exploitation, I think was. So essentially they were saying, that this film was very Roland-esque,
Yeah.
Jean Roland-esque. And I mean, certainly the gauzy gowns that they wear, that sort of dreamy feel, castle setting, I definitely see where they're coming from with that. The difference I get, this film starts out so great. I love the beginning of this film so much. And every time I rewatch it, I always think the same thing. I'm like, oh, the beginning of this film is so beautiful. And she's basically, these two girls are traveling and their car breaks down and they end up spending the night in a barn. And when the one girl wakes up in the morning, she finds her friend is gone. And this dwarf comes to her and says, "Oh, I know where your friend is. Come, come." And shows her this boat and points over the sea, and she can see a castle across the way. And she just walks into this boat, and she's standing up on this boat ride, and the boat just moves itself, glides along the water to the castle. When she arrives at the castle, there's 3 women there in 3 different colors of gauzy gowns. And it's just, as you can imagine, like the setting, it's just so beautiful and dreamlike. And it's amazing. I mean, I sincerely wish that they had kept that dreamlike aura throughout the whole film. But I feel like it does, this film does flounder a little bit through the middle. Some very interesting things happen. I mean, the woman, Morgana, she is sort of like a witch of sorts. It's never said that she's a witch, but she does know magic. She makes magical things happen. She wants it to be evening, and suddenly it's evening, this kind of thing. And the women are all beautiful. The main actress, who has lost her friend, is just gorgeous. I mean, it has everything you could ever want in this sort of film, except for it just kind of lag a little bit in the middle, where just not a whole lot happens. They sort of reiterate on the same point kind of over and over again. And it felt like it just needed more throughout the middle to me. But it does have a lovely ending, and the finale is great. It definitely is a visually beautiful film for sure, and the Jean Roland comparison is very apt. I feel like this would not be a film I personally would pick up for Blue. Again, I have a burned copy of this that a friend made for me many years ago. And really, it looks pretty nice. Like, it's not, it doesn't look anything like Supervixens did on Blu-ray. Like, it's really quite lovely. Not a bad print at all, the DVD version. I would imagine that the Blu-ray is going to be very nicely cleaned up. And I'm a big fan of Mondo Macabro's releases. They put lots of special features. They almost always seem to find a way to put both a dub version as well as a subtitle version in its original language, which I very appreciate and respect. I'm one of these people that's not really a fan of dub films. I much rather watch it in its original language. I feel like if I'm watching it dubbed in English, then I'm not getting the right feel from the movie if I can't hear them speaking for me, except for Godzilla movies. They're kind of fun. That's about it. But, so it's something Mondo Macabro, I'm sure, will do a heck of a job with this release, as they always do. I have many Mondo Macabro releases, but this one I will not be picking up.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm glad you were not overly enthusiastic about this one because I remember not being overly enthusiastic about it when I saw it. I do remember the Roland feel for sure. Absolutely. It's that thing where it's kind of like Playboy style photography, but in moving pictures. And it did have the dreamlike elements. But I agree with you. I just don't remember there being enough plot to really engage me. And I did also think that um, looking over my original review of it, the sex scenes, while the women were beautiful and well photographed, I wrote that they didn't appear to really be into it. I don't know if you got that feeling as much as I did, but sort of going through the motions type thing, or
Fully agree. Yeah, there's definitely no passion in that lovemaking at all, and it's not even lovemaking actually. Really, it's more just it's
posing
it's
nearby each other.
just for the picture. Do this for it's almost like that.
Yeah.
Like they're not really. They're just pretending for a picture. That's about as passionate as it got, really.
Okay. Well, we have 5 minutes to discuss the final one, and I do have to say this one is available from Mondo Macabro. I've got bad news. Cafe Flesh is sold out in the limited edition, so you're going to have to either wait for another edition or find a used copy somewhere. But what can you tell us about Cafe Flesh in our last 5 minutes?
Well, mine is coming any day. It may even be in the mail already, and
Good,
I
you
got it
it in.
early. I think I'm a big fan of this film. I believe I reviewed it for
I
366,
think you did.
and it's basically it's a future world after a nuclear war. There's sex positives and sex negatives, and the sex positives put on sex shows for the sex negatives who don't get to enjoy sex themselves. And it has the lovely Michelle Bauer, who is fantastic in this. It has amazing sets and set pieces. It is a adult film, really quite unlike any other adult film I have ever seen.
Right.
And it's just so unique and amazing. The soundtrack is fantastic. I really think this movie is, yeah, I find it mesmerizing. I really do. I think this movie is fantastic. I mean, I guess really my viewing of adult films, I've recently gone through the library of Bridget Leahy, who I have to be honest with you, when I decided I would do that, I didn't actually realize she was in as many adult films as she was. But so, I've expanded my definitely my viewing of adult films. And really still, like, honestly, there's maybe a handful of adult films that are as unique, as interesting, and as visually mind-blowing as this one. And weird. Really, it's pretty weird. Like, a guy dressed up as a baby. There's a million things. Pretty much every scene is, guy dressed up like a pencil, got and typing a memo. Just the visuals, definitely, I would say, as far as an adult film goes, this is definitely weird territory for sure. But I love it, and I'm picking it up on special limited Blu-ray. Excited to get it. Maybe I'll have to come in and talk to you about how beautiful the picture is.
Yeah. So my memory of Cafe Flesh is all the things you said, but when I'm thinking about the explicitness, yes, it is triple X rated, but I think the scenes are very short. They're not they don't linger. There's a lot more plot and development and mise en scène than just sex like you would normally think from an adult film. I think there's even less sex in this than there was in Night Dreams, which is kind of his Steven Sayadian's, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Sayadian's follow-up to this. So yeah, that's Cafe Flesh. You do not have, or you do have this, but not, you own it, but you don't have a copy of it.
I don't have, no, no. I actually, it's funny because I just tracked it before. They actually have not shipped it yet.
Oh, okay.
So probably because I'm in Canada, I'm guessing.
Maybe it has trouble with customs getting it.
Maybe.
No, okay. Well, we are indeed running out of time, but that was a very nice edition of our inaugural first edition of Pod 366 After Dark. It's very rare that there would be this many sexually explicit films that were of interest to us released in the same week, and it's just a freak thing that it happened this week. And so thank you, Terri, for coming in and talking to it. It's also very nice to have a woman talking about erotic films, so we don't seem like a bunch of slobbering male perverts. So I do appreciate that.
Well, thank you for having me. I love talking about Russ Meyers. I really do. I think he is just so freaking awesome. I cannot wait to have I'm literally going to buy every single one that Severn puts out.
All right. We're going to say goodbye right now because we're running out of time. See you next week. Bye.
Bye, Greg.
Weird. Yeah, I guess that is the word for it. Weird.